Okay, today we are looking at two-step inequalities and solving equations that have two steps to them. And before we get into how to solve some sample equations, let's review what we've learned so far in this chapter. We've learned that there's some language and word problems, such as at least, and we need to know symbols that go with the language in those word problems so we know how to set up their equations correctly. So for example, at least means we'll use the symbol greater than or equal to. And so for example, x is at least 80 would be represented as x is greater than or equal to 80. So x has to be more than or equal to 80 is another way of wording that as well. Okay, another statement in word problems is at most. So if x is at most 100, it's going to be less than 100 or equal to 100. So we use the less than or equal to symbol for the phrase at most. Okay, now when we solve a two-step equation, when we change the direction of our symbol is when an inequality sign, I'm saying this totally wrong. Let me start over. Change the direction of an inequality sign when multiplying or dividing by a negative when solving an equation. So the goal is to get the variable alone. So we will undo what is happening on the same side of the variable by using the order of operations backwards as our guide for which to undo first. Okay, so let's do some practice problems. All right. Okay, let's see here. Let's say that we have negative 4x minus 2 is greater than or equal to 42. Okay, so what do we need to do to solve this equation? Well, at the end of the order of operations is adding and subtracting. So if that's at the end and we want to do it backwards, well, here's our subtracting. So let's undo that first. To undo it, we do the opposite to both sides. So the opposite of minusing 2 would be adding 2 to this side, adding 2 to this side. Adding 2 cancels this. That leaves negative 4x alone. And our sign stays in the same direction. And we add the 2 to 42, we get 44. Okay? So now we have negative 4 times x. Well, the next thing up on the order of operations, like I said, at the end is adding and subtracting. The next thing up would be multiplying or dividing. So a number next to a variable has a hidden meaning of multiply. So the opposite of that is dividing. I'm going to divide by negative 4, divide by negative 4. Okay, and so a negative divided by a negative becomes positive. So I can cancel these out. They become positive 1. 1 times x leaves x alone on this side. And I divided by negative, so I flip my sign. And 44 divided by negative 4 would be negative 11. So x is less than or equal to negative 11.